Hey guys, welcome. Smarthelping.com here. It's 11:05 a.m. on a Thursday, May 31st. Now, I don't have a new model for you. I have an update to one of the most popular models, which is a website or app subscription startup model. Um, you can see in the link below, I'll provide a video that goes over this in full. But what I want to focus on here is just what I've updated, and this is per a few purchasers of the model have requested the same thing, and I agree that it should probably be a global update to this sheet. So what I've done is if you look in the base revenue tab, before you would basically the whole model is driven by traffic, and that could be traffic to an app, a website, or both, and then you convert that to a free pool, and then that goes to a paid pool, and then that goes to different um, paid pricing tiers. Uh, and so the whole thing's dynamic as far as the start month of the revenue, but what was not dynamic was the start month of traffic. So whatever you put into this box in D6 would automatically fill into the first month of this traffic, and then the model will go from there. Now, you could still, if you set these start months to a later month, all of these figures would still be zero, but you would not be able to grow your traffic accordingly. It wouldn't be able to mesh properly. So the simple fix, put a dynamic start month for your monthly traffic. So this little box is brand new here, and whatever you put here is when the traffic will begin, and this is the starting amount it will be. So if I put in January, let's say I put in February here, it's going to be 1500 uh, uh, in traffic. And you see now, look at that starting in February and then growing per uh, the month or the monthly growth rate. So each this 10% you could see here, 1500 is growing by 10% a month, so it goes from 1500 to 1650. Obviously, 10% of 1500 is 150, so you add 150 to that, and you go. So it's compounding. That's the compounded growth rate per month, and you can adjust this on a yearly basis for traffic. So that is the main update here. Well, that's the only update. Everything else is the same. It all works great. But we're just allowing this functionality to be dynamic. And the reason why is because all of the models I do are set up so that when you put in your start year here, you always start at, no matter when you're going to start within the year, the model always starts in year one on the first month so that you get a clean 5 year projection. It doesn't go like it goes all the way to the uh, it just shows a clean 5 year time span without going into half of any years, and then you can adjust these assumptions, which the costs and the revenue assumptions, to start at any month. So you can still make your start date dynamic, even if the model is starting on month one. Um, you can actually see what happens if you have like burn on some of these costs, if your startup costs or if your operating costs start later or earlier than your traffic than your revenue. So that's a good dynamic that is now a bit more. It matches it. It's more congruent with the traffic being able to start dynamically. You can see if I put this to March, this now starts in March or whatever. I could put in any month and it'll move over. Now, yeah, startup costs, all that was still there. Um, And then one other update that is on another popular model is the equipment rental one. And let me show you that one. And anyone who has purchased these can just email me. I'll send you the updated one if you've already bought it. And then obviously going forward, anyone who purchases any of these will get the latest version. Let me show you the updates on the equipment rental. Stand by. Okay, so here's the equipment rental. And note this will, um, the link to the main model that explains all this in greater detail will also be in the description box. So the main update here is there's actually now two versions. There's the original equipment rental and there's this version. This version has added the ability to put in possibly investor funding that happens at any time over the life of the model in any month. It also um, adds a startup and capex. So, for example, you could put in whatever, let's say renovations or some type of capex. You could pick the month and the amount, let's say $1 million. And now that will dynamically flow into our monthly and annual summary. You could see we've got capex in here. Oh, I put it below. So here's the capex. You can see, look, $1 million in Feb 19 goes here, and that will flow to your monthly cash flow position. You can see there you spend $1 million, now you're at negative for that month. So that's one thing, is you can now do capex. You can also do startup costs. So this is if you want some amount of startup costs to happen before anything else, like things that would be beyond just purchasing your equipment, that you want those costs to flow in here, and you can see those will just flow here, and then they will always be in the first month of the model, and they will affect the cash flow. As you can see here, it's subtracting out 183 right there. So that's the update. We've got, possibly you can put in some investor funding if that applies, and you've got startup and capex. Oh, there's one other update. So this model, the updated version only goes for 5 years. It's more for a startup rather than planning out. The other model goes for 10 years. And so since this goes for 5 years instead of 10, we've also changed it so that you can, um, instead of updating the amount of usage you expect for each equipment ID on a yearly basis. So like before, it would just have your 10 years here, and you would say, okay, in year one, every month I'm going to use this item 15 days. Well, now you can actually split it up into quarters. So you can see here, there's 4 quarters in 1 year, and you could say, well, for this equipment ID, I think I'll use it, 15 days in the first quarter, then by the second quarter, I might use it a different amount. It just gives you more granularity. And because of that, I only put it for 5 years, so it's not too long. All the other logic is still the same. Your established value uh, should also be dynamic there because that was updated. Oh, actually, so that should be Z, not AE. It's a good thing I'm going over this. So this actually should be Z if the date matches the purchase column E, which would be the salvage date, or the end date is E. Yep, that's still right. So let's say this first one, salvage value is $5,000. You go to our monthly cash flow, we should see 5,000 coming in on the end date there. What is the end date? Let's go over here. June, oh, January. So if you put, basically, I added, in this model, it goes 1 month over. So if you do this last month, it's actually not going to stop it at all. But if we pick the last month here, it will show up in the salvage. And that's just to show if you plan on ongoing, nothing happening in the last month. Let's see. So, oh, so there's the 200,000 equipment discontinued. So that's going to come off of the net non-depreciated asset value. But then, oh, I got to drag this over, obviously. The salvage value should be 5,000, and there it is. Perfect. and then that all flows dynamically to the annual summary, as you can see here. Okay, so I'm actually going to save this version, and then I'll keep the template of what I just did. So when you follow along with the video, you can see exactly what I was talking about when I did that. So those are all the updates. So we've got updates to the mobile app recurring revenue with different pricing tiers, and we've got updates to the equipment rental. And these are both models. I get a couple of these a week, so it's going to be, it's important that everyone knows about this and that these updates exist. All right, I will talk to you guys on the next one. Have a great weekend.